This won't be long. Nike's Q3 quarterly results, they're out, earnings call, and yes, they did well in some areas, but more importantly, this statement's made about innovation. I'm just curious, are they looking at the exact same sneaker market and product market as the rest of us? Because, like, outside of what they're doing and so many other brands are doing with super shoes, which, I mean, if you're not into running in that way to that level, even though a super shoe can be made for those who are not super competitive runners, if you're not necessarily into that, then sometimes I question, like, what is it that Nike is claiming that they're innovating on? So, I'm on Business Wire. This is the same day that the quarterly earnings report came out. They had their call on Business Wire. It states, we're encouraged by the progress we've seen as we build a multi-year cycle of new innovation, sharpen our brand storytelling, and work with our wholesale partners to elevate and grow the marketplace. Okay, new innovation, where exactly? And if you say the new Air Max DN that's coming out, funny you would maybe reference that, right? So Jack Slade, aka Cousteau, in a recent Footwear News article, he references this shoe because Nike stated this is something Air Max lovers haven't seen before, even though a lot of us were scratching our heads like, this does seem rather familiar. You're not wrong. He said there was a shoe from the early 2000s, a basketball shoe with essentially the same tech. They just called it something different. The Air Max DN is not necessarily something new. It just feels like a version of something from years ago, but they're billing it as something new. I would second that, Jack Slade. And of course, long-standing history. He understands and he's seen so much of where Nike has been and where they're going. And I think we're kind of confused as to where they are going because they were always known as the brand to push the boundaries when it came to product. And now we're just in this point where I see that they say they want to sharpen their storytelling. Okay, well, one, does that mean White and Kennedy needs to continue to do the great job that they do? Because they're the ones that are really, truly crafting the stories. And if you don't know, that is the long-standing agency for Nike. I think of Nike as a marketing brand first, and they happen to also have product, as like what they also do, like on the side. That's what I see them as now. They're known all over the world. That's based on their marketing. Yes, their storytelling does a lot. It captures you. It emotionally brings you in. That's the job of White and Kennedy, and they do a tremendous job of that. But Nike, can you? I'm just saying. I would say get back to the fact that the product itself should be what's exciting and what sells, not having to craft a very intricate story to get a consumer to buy into the product. Like, the product should get you to buy in. And, that's referenced again in the Footwear News article in relation to flyknit, and Jock just going back to, when he first saw vapormax, like, that was a moment, right? It was just such a moment of when you saw vapormax. And you guys have seen recently, I had that OG pair, the platinum pair, and I gave that to my friend so she can enjoy it in all of its comfort. But that's not really where we've been in terms of anything vastly exciting, unless it was like the Air Max 270, and that is still seen on foot today. But you see On, like Jack references, you see On all the time, especially if you're in the airport. Whole families can be in On pairs, and it's not as if On is some very cheap brand. So people are willing to, put money out there at these price points, but they just understand I don't have to give it to Nike because what exactly are they offering me that these other brands are not? And then I love that he touches on the different CEOs, right? Each CEO, they have really had something different just in terms of when you look back at Phil Knight, you had creative strategy and then business. And then when you look at Mark Parker, it was the same thing. John Donahoe, not necessarily, it's just business. And so he says there's a possibility that the goals or the guideposts are different now. He said John Donahoe is different from prior CEO and current executive chairman Mark Parker, who's different from Nike co-founder and former CEO Phil Knight. But Phil and Mark seem to be closer in step than Mark is to John. Yeah, because John, like, the numbers, okay, I get it. Like, some of these numbers look good for Q3. But if we were like polling the streets, testing the temperature, what's happening there? I don't know that people are fearful of what Nike is putting out. Like, if you're their competitor, I think you feel really good about everything right now in the landscape because you have just as good a chance to really penetrate in to people that are open to it. Now, you have some people that they are just diehard. It is Nike, it is Jordan, it is nothing else. And that is your choice to, make as a consumer. But I think a lot of people understand they don't have to just drink the orange Kool-Aid. They can make a decision to do something else in terms of exploring other brands and what's there. So I just think it's interesting right now. I like the fact that people are kind of you know, questioning Nike, pushing back to say like, hey, what have you actually done that's like so groundbreaking in recent times? And I'm just saying, like, they also want to go back to, you know, the wholesale partners. Didn't you pull a lot of those accounts and things, or didn't you decrease the amount of volume and SKUs that you were giving to, say, Foot Locker? But now you may return to that to try and bolster some of these sales, because digital sales are down. And I think they're finding out that that rush to do direct to consumer is not exactly what they thought it would be. Like, you wanted to just dive into that in 2020. Times are very different. This is not 2020 anymore. So it'll be interesting to see how this year continues to play out, resting on your laurels of just retros, but not really doing anything that can be considered groundbreaking. Like, I think some other brands can continue to do that, but Nike, what you were known for is really great product, and now like the product is kind of stagnant, and there's some storytelling maybe on the Jordan brand, but the storytelling is all coming through like collabs, and even the collabs feel like they are vastly saturated. I just feel that way. Vastly saturated. So innovation. Let's see if it really does become something Nike is known for again. Now, they are still, of course, at the top in terms of market share, but plenty of other brands are gaining ground on that market share, and that is great to see for consumers because it means something that you're interested in. Hopefully that's available for you. All right, that's it. That's all I got. Hopefully you guys are enjoying your day. Not sure when this will come out, but be sure to check in with any of my recent videos. As always, act your age, not your shoe size. Peace.